At 1:47 in the morning on February 1st, 2026, a doorbell camera went dark. 41 minutes later, a pacemaker monitoring app lost its connection. Somewhere in that window, in a quiet neighborhood in Tucson, Arizona, an 84-year-old grandmother named Nancy Guthrie vanished from her bed. She left behind her phone, her car, her medication she needs to survive. Her daughter is Savannah Guthrie. You know her. She's been in your home every morning for years, co-hosting NBC's Today Show. But Nancy wasn't famous. She was a widow who rebuilt her life after tragedy, a woman of deep faith, a mother who never stopped showing up for her children. Now, 6 days later, the FBI is searching. The president has called. The whole nation is watching. But Nancy is still missing, and no one knows if she's alive. This is the story of a family racing against time, of investigators with no suspects, a community shattered by the unthinkable. This is the story of 41 minutes that changed everything. This is the Nancy Guthrie case, and it's not over yet. Before we continue, this is happening right now. Nancy Guthrie is still missing, still in danger, still needing her medication. If you have any information about Nancy's disappearance, call the FBI immediately at 1-800-CALL-FBI. There's a $50,000 reward. And if you're watching this, please share it. Share it with everyone you know, and like the video. It helps YouTube show it to more people. Someone out there has seen something. Someone knows something. Also, subscribe to the channel to be updated about this case as it progresses. Now, let's continue with what we know.
Our mom is our heart and our home. She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive, and she needs it not to suffer.
Right now, we believe Nancy is still out there.
Nancy Ellen Guthrie was born on January 27, 1942, in Fort Wright, Kentucky. She married Charles Guthrie, a mining engineer, in 1963. His work took them around the world, including Melbourne, Australia, where their youngest daughter, Savannah, was born. In the early 1970s, they settled in Tucson. They chose the Catalina foothills for what Nancy called its laid-back and gentle quality of life. They raised 3 children there: Cameron, Annie, and Savannah. Then, in 1988, Charles died suddenly during a work trip to Mexico. He was 49 years old. Nancy was 46, with a teenager still at home. Savannah later said her mother set aside her own grief to hold the family together. Nancy found work at the University of Arizona. She raised her children. She rebuilt her life, alone. 38 years later, she was still here, still independent, still going to church every Sunday, still hosting family dinners, still writing in her Christian journals, still playing with her grandchildren, still, at 84, living the life she'd built. But Nancy had vulnerabilities: a heart condition, a pacemaker, limited mobility. She couldn't walk far on her own. She required daily medication that without it could be fatal. Still, she insisted on living independently in the home she'd made her refuge. Saturday, January 31st, 2026. At 5:32 p.m., Nancy took an Uber to her daughter Annie's house for dinner. It was their routine, family dinner on weekends. The pact Savannah and Annie made in college to never leave their mother alone had evolved into this: regular gatherings, constant contact, Sunday church. Nancy had dinner with her family. We don't know what they talked about. We don't know if there were any concerns, any sense of foreboding. We know it was ordinary, a normal family dinner, the kind they'd had hundreds of times before. Nancy was home. The garage door closed behind her. The house was quiet. In the Catalina foothills, darkness is absolute. No streetlights, property spread across acre lots, separated by desert vegetation. It's peaceful, private, the kind of place where you can see every star. Kind of place where no one can hear you scream. Sunday, February 1st, 2026. 1:47 a.m. Nancy's doorbell camera disconnects. Not a malfunction, not a dead battery, a disconnect. 25 minutes later, at 2:12 a.m., camera software detects motion. The system logs a person, or possibly an animal. We don't know, because Nancy's camera didn't have a cloud subscription. No video was saved. 16 minutes after that, at 2:28 a.m., Nancy's pacemaker monitoring app loses connection to her phone. 41 minutes. That's the window. Sheriff Chris Nanos won't say what he saw that Sunday afternoon when he got the call. He won't describe the scene, but something about it disturbed him enough to immediately call in homicide detectives. Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Nancy Guthrie didn't show up for church. For a woman who had attended faithfully for decades, who structured her week around Sunday services, this was alarming. A church member called the family. At 1:56 p.m., family members arrived at Nancy's home. They searched the house. They called her name. Nancy was gone. What they found inside, Sheriff Nanos won't say. Not all of it, but there was blood. On the porch. Nancy's blood. DNA would later confirm. There was Nancy's phone, left behind. There was her car, still in the garage. There was her medication, the medication she needed to survive. And there was Nancy's absence, the hollow space where an 84-year-old grandmother should have been, safe in her own home. Within hours, the story was everywhere. The mother of one of America's most recognizable journalists had vanished from her bed. The FBI joined the investigation. Search and rescue teams deployed, canine units, drones, aerial resources. U.S. Customs and Border Protection were called in. Savannah Guthrie was supposed to fly to Italy that Monday to host NBC's coverage of the Winter Olympics, the biggest assignment of her career. Instead, she flew to Tucson. She canceled everything. The Olympics would go on without her. Her mother needed her now. Day 2, Monday, February 2nd. Sheriff Chris Nanos held his first major press conference. He confirmed what everyone feared. Investigators began processing the scene. Blood found on the porch was sent for DNA testing. Fingerprints were lifted. Digital evidence collected. The doorbell camera, the one that disconnected at 1:47 a.m., was missing, either taken or destroyed. The camera software had logged motion at 2:12 a.m., but without a cloud subscription, no video was saved. That critical moment, when someone may have been at Nancy's door, was lost. They had a 41-minute window. They had blood. They had technology failures. They had an 84-year-old grandmother who couldn't walk 50 yards on her own. What they didn't have was a suspect. Sheriff Chris Nanos of Pima County took this case personally. When he first heard the description of the scene, something told him this was bad. He immediately escalated to homicide. By Thursday, the FBI formally joined as co-investigators. Special agent in charge, Haith Jonke, brought federal resources, digital forensics experts, crisis negotiators, and the full weight of the Bureau. And then there was the family, Savannah Guthrie, Annie Guthrie, and Cameron Guthrie. The 3 children Nancy raised alone after their father died. They had made a pact in college. One of them would always be there for their mother. They'd kept that pact for decades. Now, when she needed them most, they couldn't find her. But the investigation faced immediate challenges. The Catalina foothills is beautiful and brutally difficult to investigate. Properties sit on acre-plus lots. Neighbors can't see each other's homes. At night, darkness is absolute. The very privacy and serenity that drew Nancy here now worked against investigators. No witnesses, limited cameras, vast desert in every direction. And then there was time. DNA testing takes days, not hours. Forensic analysis can't be rushed. Digital evidence requires warrants, cooperation from tech companies, analysis. This is the real world, Sheriff Nanos reminded reporters, not Law and Order. But Nancy didn't have days. She had a heart condition. She needed her pacemaker monitored. She required daily medication that without it could be fatal within 24 hours. By Monday night, Nancy had been gone for more than 36 hours. 36 hours. Was she still alive? If so, did her captors have medical knowledge? Were they providing medication? Were they keeping her alive for ransom? Or had she already died in those first 24 hours, her captors unaware or uncaring of her medical needs? No one knows, and that uncertainty was its own kind of torture. Day 4, Wednesday, February 4th. The local Tucson television station, KOLD-TV, received an email, a ransom demand. The note demanded money for Nancy's safe return. It included a deadline, and, critically, it contained specific details about Nancy's home and what she was wearing the night she disappeared. Details that could only be known by someone who was there, or someone who followed the news coverage carefully. KOLD-TV wasn't the only one. TMZ received a ransom note too, other outlets too. Notes demanding millions of dollars in Bitcoin, including cryptocurrency wallet addresses and deadlines.
But here was the problem. Were any of them real? The sheriff wouldn't confirm which notes, if any, were legitimate. The FBI began authentication analysis. If the notes were real, Nancy might still be alive. Kidnappers don't send ransom notes for dead victims. But if they were hoaxes, cruel, opportunistic hoaxes, then investigators were chasing ghosts while Nancy's real abductor remained hidden. With no suspects and limited physical evidence, investigators had to consider every possibility. Theory 1. Nancy was specifically targeted because she's Savannah Guthrie's mother. Someone surveilled her, learned her routine, knew she lived alone with limited mobility, saw an opportunity to kidnap a vulnerable woman with access to a wealthy, high-profile family. The ransom notes would support this theory if they're real. Theory 2. A predator operating in the area who targets elderly residents in isolated homes. Burglars, home invaders, someone who saw a vulnerable target and acted. But the sheriff also said there's no evidence it was random. The truth is, they don't know yet. Theory 3. Someone with access to Nancy's home or knowledge of her routine. House staff, service workers, delivery people. Someone who'd been inside, who knew the layout, the security systems. Sheriff Nanos confirmed that Nancy had house staff, some of whom have been interviewed. An Uber driver who took Nancy to dinner Saturday night has also been questioned. But as of day 6, no one has been named a suspect. No one has been called the person of interest. The sheriff has been clear, we're not there yet. Every day Nancy remains missing, the urgency grew. Her pacemaker, her heart condition, her medications. The family publicly stated that Nancy requires medication that is fatal if not received within 24 hours. By day 6, Nancy had been without her medication for nearly 144 hours, 6 days. Was she still alive? If so, did her captors have medical knowledge? Were they providing medication? Were they keeping her alive for ransom? Or had she already died in those first 24 hours, her captors unaware or uncaring of her medical needs? No one knew, and that uncertainty was its own kind of torture. Day 4, Wednesday, February 4th. The family decided to speak directly to whoever took their mother. It was a tactical move. FBI crisis negotiators likely helped craft the message. Humanize Nancy, request proof of life, open communication. But it was also raw, real grief. A daughter calling her 84-year-old mother, Mommy. Savannah Guthrie had interviewed presidents, covered national crises, anchored breaking news for millions. Now she was on camera begging for her mother's life. The video went everywhere. Millions watched. Thousands shared it. The tip lines lit up. And then, the same day, the White House responded. President Donald Trump personally called Savannah Guthrie. Unprecedented. A sitting president, personally involved in a missing person case. Every federal resource, the full weight of the United States government. It felt like hope, like maybe with this much attention, this much power mobilized, they would find her. They had to find her. Day 5, Thursday, February 5th. The FBI announced an arrest. An arrest, but not the arrest. Derek Colella, 42, from Los Angeles, had sent text messages to Savannah and her husband demanding Bitcoin. He later admitted he did it to see if the family would respond. He was arrested for making false ransom demands. But he wasn't the real kidnapper. He was just an opportunist, a cruel hoaxer adding to the family's nightmare. The legitimate ransom note, the one the FBI was taking seriously, had set a deadline, 5 p.m., Thursday. The family waited. Law enforcement waited.
Crisis negotiators were ready. 5 p.m. came and went. No communication, no proof of life, no Bitcoin transaction, nothing. Another deadline, Monday, February 8th. But with each deadline that passed without contact, the likelihood grew that the ransom notes were hoaxes, all of them, which meant they were back to the beginning. No suspects, no contact, no proof of life, and Nancy had been missing for 5 days. Friday, February 6th, day 6. Nancy Guthrie has been missing for 144 hours. Her phone is in evidence lockup. Her medication sits unused in her home. Her pacemaker app hasn't connected in 6 days. The FBI has received thousands of tips. They've analyzed DNA, reviewed surveillance footage from across Tucson, traced Bitcoin wallets, interviewed dozens of people. They've deployed canine units, drones, search and rescue teams. They've offered $50,000 for information. They have evidence of a crime: blood on a porch, a disconnected camera, a 41-minute window. What they don't have is Nancy. Somewhere out there in the vast Sonoran Desert, or hidden in a basement in Tucson, or transported across state lines, somewhere an 84-year-old grandmother may still be alive, or may have already gone. Her children are waiting, the FBI is searching, the nation is praying, but the desert keeps its secrets, and the clock keeps ticking. Nancy Guthrie's story. And we still don't know the ending.